Welcome to Live Free. I'm Angela K. Austin. Together, we'll discuss books, we'll explore the world, and we'll do it with some of my closest friends. And hopefully, we'll make new ones along the way.
Hey everybody, it's Angela K. Austin, and today I'm here with my girl, SK Leslie. Say hi to everybody, SK.
Hey everyone.
All right. So I know so many people out there know SK. I mean, little quick anecdote. So we were talking about BookBub one time. And we were all like, oh, we're gonna increase our BookBub numbers, right? So let's do this and this and this. And SK was like, I don't have a BookBub page. And then we were like, what? How do you not have one? It says you have one. And she went on to BookBub, and what did you have? Like 600 people waiting?
You told me that, yeah, I think you told me how many I had, and I was like, oh, I didn't know.
It's like she didn't even have a page set up. And there were people waiting like one day, SK Leslie is going to do this. And when she does it, I'm going to be the first in line. Meanwhile, I had like 12 people. I'm like, what is this inequity in life? But so that was one of the first conversations I really remember having with SK. And, and it's like ever since then, I have just thought you were just such an amazing person, just warm and just kind. And, and SK, she is a person who helps me with my writing. She critiques me. So, I really wanted to have a conversation with her, not only about writing and, small press publishers, indie publishing, but just kind of like about, why she writes and what she writes and how long her books are that she writes, So I just want to have a conversation with my friend today, and I hope that you guys enjoy it. So let's kick this sucker off. SK Leslie, share with the world. Tell people who you are, madam, what you write, why you write, all the lovely details.
Okay. SK Leslie here. I think I started writing 2013, 2014. The years are blurring together. It's crazy. I wrote my first book, Ruined, Loving an Alpha Male was my first one that got published by Jessica Watkins. And I wasn't going to actually publish it because I wrote some other books and I was just kind of tinkering around because I was bored. I had these babies. I just kicked them out. I'm at home and I'm in a new place because, even though I lived in Texas before I had my kids, I was here maybe 5 years before I started having, after I had my kids. So it was about 4 or 5 years, but I didn't really have a lot of friends around down here. So I was just home. So I said, hey, I got this laptop. I'm going to get a laptop, got it from QVC. And I just went to just start writing, start creating stories. I had a whole bunch of stories in my head. I had a whole bunch of characters, different situations. I write IR. So I write interracial romance. So I just wanted to say, okay, if I get this guy and he is a fireman, let's see what happens if I put these two together. Or he's a spy, or, how does he get with this girl? How's this girl, how do they meet? What happens when they meet? I was just trying to figure out all types of scenarios to put my characters, and I'm just going, just typing and typing and typing. I was just creating all these characters, all these books. And so I had tried to get my girlfriend to read it. And at first she was like, okay, I'll read it. But she was a little afraid because she said, okay, I don't want to have to hurt her feelings if it's bad, right? So she was trying to be a good friend. But I told her, I said, okay, but if I suck, I need you to tell me that I suck so I could just let this dream go away and I could just do this at my leisure type of thing, right? And so she came back and said, okay, no, this was good. We need to get this published. And it just so happened I had read Phoenix's book, Beautiful Prey. So at the end, I saw the submission post that Jessica had on there. And I said, hey, I'm gonna try to submit this. And so I did. And the rest was history.
I didn't know that. So how did you come across Phoenix's book? Because, in the world of indie publishing, that is a huge thing to just have a reader get their hands on your book. So for somebody who, was new to the whole game, how did you come across Phoenix's book?
Okay, so Well, so back in the day, what I and I still do, I'm a more of an action reader. I read this
Mhm.
action story, so I'm looking at this espionage. I'm looking at CIA, FBI. I'm
Okay.
looking at that, right? Some lone wolf who's just killing everybody, to save the world type of thing. So I heard these people talking about this series called 50 Shades of Grey.
Mm.
And I was like, oh, why do these people keep talking about it? It was on the radio. They were having spoofs on the radio about these books. It was just a mess, right? So I said, okay, one day I said, I'm going to actually listen, because I did audiobooks, because I didn't have time to do it at home. So while I'm at work and I'm doing mundane things on the computer, I could just listen to an audiobook. So I listened to 50 Shades of Grey. It was my first romance book that I read. And it was erotic. So I'm looking around like someone could hear what I'm listening to. Like, do they know what I'm listening to? Oh my, is this happening? Like, I had to stop what I was doing and like pause, like, oh my, it was just weird. So I said, okay, let me see what else is out there. So then I stumbled upon Latrivia Nelson's book. And when I stumbled upon her book, I realized like people are writing IR. This is a thing. Like, I never thought it was a thing. Pretty much you just have the mainstream with a white guy and a white girl. So I didn't see us that way. So I didn't know that wasn't even a genre at that point, right? So I'm thinking I'm just doing my thing at home, just, creating stories and, making my characters this, that, and the other. I didn't even think there was a niche for it until I saw her book. And then when I read her book, I start finding more. And so I stumbled on Beautiful Prey. And that's exactly how I stumbled upon it, because it was more like suspense, and it was what I liked, a cop, female cop, suspense in it. I'm like, okay, yeah, this is great. And then when she talked about her ending, and I was one of those people that was highly upset when I got done with that book, and I was like, are you serious? Is this what she really did? Are you kidding me? Like, I was hot for like 2 weeks. I was hot.
I was really hot. When I had that chance to meet her, I was just like, why do that?
Yes. What? I was like, what is wrong with this girl? Why did she do this to us? So that's why I said I was lucky that I was able to read her books, and either it was Beautiful Prey, the first one, or the second one, where I saw the submission on the back, and I decided, hey, should I try it? And my girlfriend was like, try it. So she worked with me to kind of put up just like a little synopsis. We sat down, we started writing a synopsis for it, and I gave her like a couple of chapters, and I just waited.
So that's pretty awesome. And that's actually something that I always tell people whenever I do, because out here in Memphis, I teach classes on how to publish your book, how to self-publish, or how to submit. And one of the things that I always tell them is find a book by an author you like, if that's the genre you're interested in, and flip open the cover, see who their editors are, see who their publishers are, see, whatever it is, however they did what they did. And that's a place where you can start, Then, of course, you can always buy the writer's market and just go through that sucker like I did
figure it out.
like 10 years. So, whatever works for you. So IR. So before we talk a little bit about Jessica and some of the other stuff that you're doing, writing in the IR niche, right? And I tell people this all the time. So, like you said, reading for so many of us was just like mainstream. It was just like movies, just like so many things, there wasn't a lot of diversity. I might be slightly older than you,
Or just slightly. You're just slightly older, trust me. I'm right behind you.
But look, no, girl, please, the sister's about to make all that happen. But when I was, in undergrad, and things like that, I started thinking, because my undergraduate major was communications after I settled upon one. But when I was doing that, of course you learn the history behind so many things. And I'm like, oh man, I could do this. I could write. But, I graduated with radio, television, communication, or film as a production major. So I didn't really pursue writing until later in life. It was always in the back of my head. And I remember having this conversation with some people when I was in grad school, and I was just like, I think I could do this. I feel like I can make this happen. But again, I still just wasn't ready to take that leap. And it wasn't until I joined Romance Writers of America, and I really started to get serious about it, to try to learn the whole business behind books, so I could start, just start submitting and trying to, take myself seriously.
Yeah.
And then of course, you fast forward, you submitted to publishers, you've done this, you've done that. And then, I stumbled upon, IR, because I write AA and IR, but I write women's fiction, and I slide into that romance lane.
A little bit romance. Yeah, you
Slide
get a little romance in with your women's fiction.
But it was just like, it was one of those things that I literally stumbled on it. It wasn't, it's kind of like I didn't even realize it was a niche. It was just something that I was writing. And then I discovered that this was something that people were looking for.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, it was so interesting to me, because I think that it was just that thing of so often for me, because I didn't see Black women as being like this romantic interest. And, and even as I, over the 12 years or so that I've been writing, I found that as I age, I found that my characters age, because it was kind of that thing. In the beginning, I didn't see women who were in their late 20s, and 30s, who were African-American women who were whatever. And so I wrote them. And then as I kept writing, I was like, wait, where are the women in their late 30s and their 40s? And so now I kind of write across like maybe this like late 20s to late 40s, 50s type of age right now. That's kind of every story that I have. There's going to be probably a woman somewhere in that span who is an African-American woman. So for me, it became something that I almost felt like was like, I was like, yeah, I can write in this space. I can tear this up, and talk about all the things that, that I want to share with people about women of color, about Black women, what we're doing and how we're doing it. And, so writing these things was, I don't know, it was awesome for me. And so what does it mean for you writing in that space when you saw that there was this missing piece? And you saw that this was something that you could contribute to. Share with us a little bit about how that impacts you as a writer and how it impacts your stories, and just like, what that means for you.
Sure. So because I was such an action star, like even as far as movies, like I will go to the movies to see an action movie. I will not go to the movies if it's drama, because I'm like, I'm not spending my money to go see that. I want things to be blowing up. I want people running around shooting. I want all types of stuff, far-fetched things I'll be okay with as well. So whenever I read Latrivia's book and I saw that, her character was Russian mob guy and there was action in it, I realized that, which was something that I wanted to do, was mix the two together. Because, you think about that male character who's a loner, or who, how is he going to react with that damsel in distress? And she doesn't have to be completely in distress, but just someone that he meets and then, now he has to save her, or they're put in a situation where he has to get them out of, or they're working together to do that. I didn't know, I've always wanted to combine those two, because you see it on TV, you'll see like a cop meet another cop, or a cop meeting a reporter, but they don't talk about their story, right? They're just working on the main plot. You know what I mean? So when I write about it, I want to write about, they have that thing going on over here, but what do they talk about when they're together? You know what I mean? Like when they're in the room by themselves, when they're talking together, like I want to talk about that. That to me, I feel like that's important. So that's how it shapes my stories. So when I think about that, that's one of the things that I enjoy doing. Just putting those characters in different situations, and then kind of see how they react to it, see how they get out of it, talk about the development of their character or their relationship with each other. If he's a hard nut to crack and she may be soft around, how can she get his edges to smooth out just a little bit, and he's not used to it. I like that. I like that small conflict. I don't like to kind of put them through a whole bunch of issues, but I like whenever he can smooth her edges over a little bit. You know what I mean? So that's one of the things that I think about. And then I think about those just simple characters, you know, just someone who's, you know, I hear the garbage people outside, they're collecting garbage. The guy's, you know, garbage man. And he's picking up garbage and she's like, oh my gosh, there he goes again. And she's like, wait a minute, you forgot my bag. Like, just so he can see her, you know what I mean? So just those stories alone like that, where you just, it's just simple, but it still puts a smile on your face.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I love it. So it's so funny too, because I love all genres, except for horror. I'm not a horror person, but I love all other genres. And it's so interesting to me because like when, it's weird because I write women's fiction and they tend to be more like emotionally driven versus kind of like, you know, action or something like that. Yeah. But then like if you talk about movies or something I watch or television shows, I'm like, what is with this? Like there's movies that I still have not watched because I'm like, oh, I know that movie's gonna make me cry and I don't have time for all those tears.
I'm not watching
I can't do it. But when I write my book, I'm like, I want somebody to cry. I want them to cry rivers of tears. And then
I will not read. Yep, won't do it. I'm with you. I'm with you.
It's so crazy. It's so crazy. It's like I'm so reversed in that. What I watch and what I read, you know, and like I said, and when I read, honestly, I read all genres, but and I like stuff that's kind of like that fast paced, so it makes me want to turn the pages and stuff.
Oh yeah.
And so, you know,
interest going.
Exactly. Yeah. So with Jessica Watkins, how many books do you have with Jessica Watkins? Is it Jessica Watkins Presents?
Yes, Jessica Watkins Presents. I did a count before. I want to say I have like 15 total. And that's like, I have 2 series under her. So I have the Loving an Alpha Male series, which is kind of my alpha male guys, obviously. And then I have my Second Chance series, which is kind of more of my, you know, average Joe, kind of smooth. I don't identify the guy as being an alpha male or having alpha tendencies. I just kind of write his character. Okay. And you guys can figure it out from there, what you want to put him in as far as what bubble or whatever. But with Loving an Alpha Male, I specifically make sure that he is an alpha.
Yeah.
So his thought process, his movements, his actions, the way he looks, everything is going to, you know, check off those boxes of what alpha male is. Yeah. So those are the 2 that I have with her. And then I want to start my own Sons of the Wicked that I'm just trying to throw just different situations that you wouldn't normally, people would probably like kind of brush over. I may put in there, you know, just to get a little bit more gritty, maybe a little bit more grimy, just a little bit, not too far fetched where you're like, oh gosh, I can't read this, but more so just like, oh, is that what he said? Oh, okay. You know, or
more in the urban fiction, or is it going to be
it's still going to be IR. Okay. I have I probably could try and attempt to write an urban book, but that is not my strong suit. So I stay away from that lane. Like I leave it for Jessica and the team and everyone else who writes urban. I can't.
Yeah, it's a whole new animal.
Yes.
A whole new animal.
Yes.
So with the stuff that's not in the series, with the other things, so on the indie side, is that, you know, you're gonna try to go more in that lane?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, on the indie side, I'm gonna try to go more in that lane. So, you know, I still have my you know, my assassins or you know, military guys. I still will have my bad boys, but they're bad boys. So, you know, typically with my Love and Alpha Male, they may be bad, but they kind of they skate around the law. I may have these actually breaking the law. Like I'm flat out breaking this law, or I'm flat out doing this. I want to start like an MC series, you know. So, you know, they kind of, and 1%ers, not the good MCs, but the ones who, you know, tinker around and, you know, the illegal life.
Okay.
Yeah, they walk that. Oh, and they tinker on the other side of it for a lot, and then they come back and walk the middle, and they go back over, you know. But I still try to make sure that I don't exploit women to the point. I mean, you know, in that life, of course, there are going to be things that, you know, women go through. But instead of maybe skating over it, I may actually write it out. You know, instead of her being a history of being abused, maybe I write that she, you know, the abuse. So I think it's just, I want to make it different. You know, that's why I have Sons of the Wicked. I consider that to be kind of my wicked boys, you know, so I kind of leave that to that side. So I want to get started with that, but I have some other stories that I need to finish with the other 2 series. So
that sounds like that's going to have a lot of
I'm
love.
busy.
Because, you know, women love bad boys. Bad
Yes.
boys who are good to their women. See, now that's the line,
Yes.
right?
Yes, that's the line.
You
Yep.
can't have this bad boy who is always. He's got to have something that allows him to be able to be loved. You know, and so like that, like that's a crazy line. I can't wait.
It is it's a thin line. It is, because you don't, I mean, because, you know, you write that asshole, right?
Yeah.
You write him, his mannerisms, his demeanors or whatever. But I think at the end, what I like to do is you just can't help but like him. You know what I mean? It's like you want to hate him, you know, in some parts you may get upset. I've had some people tell me they didn't like the guy in my first book or whatever because he went through what he went through, or he put her through what he put her through. But it's like you can't not like him, you know, like you got to love to hate him or something. Yeah. Or, you know, if you understand his plight or his issues, then you're like, okay, I'll accept it, but I still don't like it. You know what I mean? And you have others who don't know and don't understand. They're just like, forget him. I can't believe he did that. So it's, you know, it's going to be that thin line that I'm going to have to kind of skate through. So,
and that's always that redemption quality, because, you know, I talk about that all the time, because even in, you know, in straight alpha male books, there's still that thing about that redemption quality, because sometimes when I've read books that have the alpha male, he's such a jerk. He's such, you know what I mean? You're just like, why would anybody love that? Why would anybody love that person? Show me a reason to say, oh, I love you. You know what I mean? Like, I don't get it. I don't understand it. Y'all all lying. You know what I mean? Because there's no love there. That's just
it's so funny too, because, and I'm weird about that. I like guys that can be assholes at times. I say that about my husband multiple times. I'm like, dude, you're such an asshole. Like, he just, are you really calling him? I'm like, yes, you are. So he, you know, I like it, but you know, it doesn't take it to the point where it's offensive.
Yes.
I think at that point, whenever they start getting offensive to the point where, you know, you start messing with my self-esteem or self-respect, I think that at that point, that's when you're like, okay, wait a minute, dude. You know what I mean? But just other tendencies he does, I just look at him and shake my head and he's like, yeah, you love it. I'm like, I'm just saying, I ain't saying I didn't like it. I just said that you are. I just want you to acknowledge that you are one. That's all I need.
I think like for me, I think it comes to that, like the balance that you just said, because there's like this certain amount, when it's an alpha character, there's a certain amount of like, I guess, bravado, but because of that, there's like this thing about protecting, you know, somebody or whatever, because it's usually attributed to certain types of I don't know, certain types of careers or whatever. And so you have all these other elements in romance, you know, and so it's like all of that comes together and you're like,
yeah, at the end you're like, I can't believe you did that. And you're like, but he kills people for a living. You're just like, yeah, but he's so sweet.
Every time I read something or watch something and it's got that type of character, I'm like, why do I like this character? This is stupid.
Yes. I'm just like, why?
Why? All right. And so on the indie side, how many books do you have?
Just have one so far.
One so far. Okay. All right. Yep. So now this brings me to my next question, right? Let's talk length of books.
Okay.
So just so people get an idea, you know, like what's the shortest, what's like in word count, the shortest story you've written?
I think it was like, oh no, that might have been 50.
Because we were in an anthology together and everybody was like, we were like, SK, it's supposed to be like 15, 20.
Like 25 and I went to like 40, I think.
I was like, how did she get to double her? It's like, then she like, And then it was like, you were like, y'all know I can't write a short story. It's like,
I tried. I really did. But then it was like stuff happened and I said, wait, I got to explain this. And next thing I know, I'm like, dang, this is long.
I was cracking up. I was like, okay. So
yeah,
that's probably the shortest one you've done, though.
I think that was no, I did one with well, she asked for a short story, but I still was long too. Phoenix asked me to do Cage Chronicles.
Cage Chronicles. Okay.
Yeah, so that one was long too.
How long was Cage Chronicles? Because we were supposed to do like.
Let me tell you. Yeah, no, let me tell you. I think mine took up majority of the packet of the booklet. I think
it was supposed to be like 3,000 to 5,000 SK.
Yeah, I think that was like 10, 15 or something like that. I tried.
Special privileges. All these special.
I tried.
Okay, so that what's your longest one out there?
So published right now, maybe 280, 290. The one I'm working on now is right now it's like 300K right now, and I'm just like, I need to do something.
Like that. Like you didn't break that up into like 3 parts.
I could. I probably could. It's ridiculous right now. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Yeah. So but my thought process is this. So when I'm looking at it and I'm writing, and I have ideas and I'm just throwing it out there, and I feel like whenever I get done with the situations, then I'll go back and I'll read it. Mm-hmm. And then I'll decide, okay, do they really need to go through this? Does this conversation really need to happen?
Yeah.
Probably not. And so then I'll remove it. So I think right now, instead of me, because of this whole COVID thing, it's kind of messing with my head a little bit. Mm-hmm. I'm just trying to wonder what's going on with the kids and if they're going to go to school. So many things is kind of hindering my writing right now. So instead of me harping on those small things, I said, let me just get this story out, and then I'll go back and look at the pages, or I'll go back and look. And so I think this was 300 pages right now, close to 4. So I might be maybe at 180 to 200K right now.
Okay.
Possibly.
Yeah, I think
possibly
180. Yeah. See, and that's not. Like 120 is where I used to aim for, but right now, my longest is about 80. But I bring that up because, like I said, guys, SK critiqued some of my stuff for me. And it was like, so I write completely opposite from SK.
Yes.
Right? I'm very linear, but then I came from a world of poetry. So I come from short writing into longer, prose. And so it's like literally I put the story down, then I go back and I see what's missing.
Yeah.
And then I come back and plug in the pieces that's missing.
Yeah, I do that too.
I kind of get to where I want to be, because sometimes I don't, it's like so hard when you're writing, in kind of like a vacuum. It's like, this story that you want to tell and you want to get it out of here onto the computer. And so, like I do like a little quick like outline, not like most people do outlines. It's more like beats on a page, and I get it down, and then I come back and I read it. I'm like, okay, what am I missing? And I'm like, and then I see these gaps, which is literally, like with one of the stories that you're looking at for me. It's like one of the reasons why I love having people in my tribe who are different than me, who write differently, who write different stories, because, for me, honestly,
different perspective, right?
Different perspective, and it helps you feel in. So you don't have like unanswered questions when it's all over, because you do want people who kind of write in that same genre as you, but having people who write differently and in different genres, for me, it helps me see some of my blind spots. Because honestly, when you're writing, if you write like me, I'm a slower writer than a lot of people. So
I'm with you on that.
It takes me months to get some of my stuff out there. And so when I'm writing, it's like you've seen it so many times. You've looked at it so many times.
Yes.
You
miss a lot.
Yeah, you don't see what's missing. So
Yep.
what is that process for you? How long after you put your book, like how long does it take you to write it? And once you do get that first draft done,
Yes.
like how long do you give yourself to look at it before you hand it off to somebody else? Like what is that because now, especially with you starting to get into some of the indie life and you're going to be hybrid like the rest of us.
Yeah.
What's that process feeling like for you right now?
Oh man. So in the past, I don't know what the difference is from then to now. Who knows? But in the past, I was not. I think I did maybe 4 books in a year at one point. Other than that, it's been like 2 or 3 tops, but pretty much 2. I did 1 last year, so that was like the least that I've done. But the issue for me is that whenever I go, I'll write down like a couple chapters on, chapter 1 through 8 or something like that. I'm just flowing. So I'll go back. I won't continue. I'll go back, reread it. So as I'm rereading, I'm like, oh no, what about this? Oh, let me just take this out. So then I start changing that chapter, eliminating what I just wrote, put that on a whole nother Word document. And I'm like, no, maybe you should do this. Yeah, that works. Do that. And then I'm going to change the whole dynamics of my story. And so I feel like it takes me a while. So it may take, back in the day, it took me maybe like 2 months, I think, to, if I was just straight writing, coming home, I mess with the kids, but my mom's here too. So, and my husband, so they were helping and, with dinner and stuff like that. And plus I really didn't have a pressing job at the time. Mm-hmm. So when my boss was away and I was in the corner of my office, I was writing. And then when I saw her walk around the corner, I stopped and go, hey, it changed my screen. I took every second I could.
On that myself. Hey,
they leave, I go back to, all you hear is click, click, clicking. And because I felt like, and I could do that because of the job that I had, right? I didn't do it all the time, but the job that I had, there was some downtime that I had. So I used that downtime wisely. Mm-hmm. Now I don't have that luxury. I have to do reports and all this stuff. So I don't have that time to do that. So it was faster back then. Mm-hmm. But I would go back. It would take me a while to go back because, as you're going through your story, I want to see how it flows. And so I may get to chapter 15. I'm going to start over and go from chapter 1 to chapter 15 just to see how it's flowing. And then I'll continue. And then I'll go back and I'll read it again from chapter 1 till I get to chapter 25. And you know what I mean? So it's like I take those pieces and I say, okay, let me see how this is going. And I'll set it down for a minute, maybe a day or 2 or something. I'll come back and I'll read it from the beginning because now I don't remember what I wrote 2, 3 last week, right? Because I'm already on chapter 10. I don't know what I wrote chapter 1 anymore. So I want to see how that flows. Maybe I missed something. Maybe I, started a story there and I need to pick it up here at this chapter. So I'll go back and reread it, which takes time. So by the time I'm done with that book, I'm tired of these characters. Like I've read these suckers so many times. Yeah. So it's just at that point, I'm just like, I hope this is it. And so whenever I get done with it and I did all I thought I could, got all I thought I could get, and I'll give it to Jessica and then I'll get it back. Then it's like a fresh pair of eyes because I haven't seen it for 2-3 weeks. Mm-hmm. But now it's a fresh perspective, fresh pair of eyes. Now I'm reading what the notes from the editor are saying. And also I'm looking at what I have as well. But I also have been thinking about my story. Mm-hmm. As I'm laying in the bed, I didn't start another one. I'm still thinking of that one. And then I'm like, okay, well, maybe, I don't know. Maybe I should change that. Or maybe I didn't like that conversation. Or maybe I'm missing something. And then, the editor will come back and maybe will say, hey, add this, add that. You had too much of this. Yeah. And I said, yeah, you're right. I did have too much of that. Let me go ahead and, so now I got a whole fresh excitement now. Cause I'm like, oh, it's a new story. I haven't read this in like 3 weeks. And, now you're excited. And then that's the last I read it.
I'm the same way, right? Because it's hard for me to read my books after they've been published because then I'm like, I could have used a different word there. Yep. And it's like, it's really hard. After it's been published, I have to let it go completely. Yeah. Or I'm just going to end up redoing it. And when you're in the indie world, you can do that. You can take that sucker down, redo it, and put it back up. You'd never get anything new created. Never get anything done. Because you continue to do that. But I wanted to make sure that we shared that because, for anybody who is watching this interview who is interested in the indie publishing world, I want them to understand that all of us are different and unique in the way we put our stories together,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so what works for one person may not work for another person, and you have to find your own groove and get into your own, kind of flow,
Yeah, your
but
system.
yeah, your own thing, but you definitely have to, I'm of the opinion, you have to have people in your tribe, in your circle, who critique and work with you,
Oh yeah.
they don't try to make your stories theirs, but they try to make your story better,
Yeah.
and so,
Yeah.
and so you need to make sure you have that flow, because, when I first started in this whole thing, joining, like I said, different organizations, I had critique circles and partners, and it was like, it turned me off for a very long time, because it was so many people who were just like, their way of writing was the right way to do it.
Oh, okay.
And
Yeah.
so it's like, if you're
Yeah.
not doing it their way, you're not
Yeah.
doing it the right way. And what is the right way? Everybody
There's
writes,
no right way.
you know,
They
I-
do. You have a different perspective and outlook than what someone else would have in their style and their voice.
yes.
I think with me, my voice is different. And I've had a couple of editors who would make a comment, but then I have a bunch of readers who say, I love the way you write. And one of the key things that how I do it is I write it as if I'm sitting down with you and I'm telling you a story.
Mhm.
And I mean, so it's going to be sidebar conversations too. Like, if I said, I heard some noise at the door of my boyfriend's apartment, and then I may say, I walked in, right? Like, because I'm asking the reader a question, because I know when I see it, I'm sitting here laughing like, yeah, I know what you're about to do. I'll answer them. I'll answer them in my head. I'll laugh. I'll smile, because I know what's about to happen. But as an author, I write it. I write that question out. I got pissed, right? Or I got upset, right? Or I punched her in the face, right? And so it's those questions I like, because I want to interact and I want to bring the reader into my story. So that's a certain way that I may sometimes write my first person, but not everybody does that.
Yeah, and and you have so much love. Like I said, you had 600 people waiting for a page that you hadn't even set up. So we understand that this resonates with all of your readers, right? They love that. And, and I think that that's, like I say, to any of the people who are interested in self-publishing, this is what makes us unique, right? Find your way of telling your story so that you tell your best story and you're not trying to write somebody else's way.
Yeah.
Because people they'll see it as not authentic, so don't do that. Which now leads me to a question. So, for people who may not be aware of you, and like I say, they are definitely not one of the 600 who were waiting, but what is the tome of work? And I say tome lovingly. What is the story? What is the thing that you think was like the breakout for SK? That made everybody say, I got to get down with the SK, read more, learn more. What is that book?
I want to say, okay, so I feel like the popular book that everyone has talked to me about is Desired. That was the second book that I ever published.
Okay.
And I get Desired and I get Ruined. For the most part, majority people, I get others from other things, right? Because I dipped in a little bit of paranormal, still IR, but it was a little paranormal. I'll get some people who comment about that. I'll get some people comment about my Average Joe stories and, stuff like that. But the most, if someone asks you what SK Leslie, or ask a person what SK Leslie book have you read, they're going to say Ruined or Desired. And the main character in Desired, they're going to say Drake. I don't understand. I understand, but I don't understand. But that man is loved.
I mean, why do you think people love him so much? What you do?
Oh my gosh. I've gotten so for those who haven't read it, he is like an enforcer, I guess, if you will, to his mafia family, his cousin and his uncle. So he grew up with a family that was FBI. And they were on the good side of the law, but he was always that bad seed. And his siblings followed in their parents' footsteps and became FBI agents and CIA agents. You know, they told that line. They were the wholesome, pure kids who did no wrong. Him, on the other hand, he was just that person. He's that black sheep of the family. He decided to go on the other side to work with his cousin and to work with his uncle and to be in the mafia, you know. So he meets a girl that he, you know, when he's on vacation, that he didn't expect. You know, she's just kind of wide-eyed, you know, she approaches him for a one-night stand, didn't believe that he was going to say yes. He, you know, he wears a fedora, he smokes cigars, you know, bald head, like that's, you know, he looks like he could just like kill you in the blink of an eye type of thing. So he was like that, but he adored her. And one of the things that I think it used to give me a little goosies is whenever he had told her, I'm going to be at this restaurant, so I need you to meet me there. And so she's like, okay. So she goes, but there's no parking spaces in the front. And so she goes and she parks a couple blocks away, and she's walking and he's standing there and he's looking at her like, where the hell you coming from? You know? And she's like, I went to go park. And he's like, you did what? Like, he was so enraged. He was like, don't you ever, if I tell you that meet me somewhere, best believe you better park, because guaranteed I already paid for parking for you. You know, get out. I will be right here waiting for you. You know, like, she's like, what's the big deal? She wasn't used to, you know, being treated that way by a man, you know? And so he's pretty much laying down the line, when you're with me, you're with me. Don't walk around the corner like that. What's wrong with you? It's at night. You're by yourself. What? You know, he was enraged. But when he got to his family blamed him. You know, because they were like, where were you when she came around the corner? Like, well, don't get mad at her. So I think that they enjoyed it. He had that, you know, that fire for her.
And see, and that's what we were talking about earlier, that protection.
Yeah.
Right. You know, and that's, you know, I think that that's what a lot of women, myself included, love about romance. Is like, that's where that kind of like ideal, you know, what is it, idealization or whatever you want to call it, comes in. But that's that thing that draws so many women to the genre is kind of like this, you know, feeling protected, feeling safe, feeling cared for in all elements. So I see why. See, now I got to put something else on the table. It's just, you know, I don't even think I read that one.
I feel like with women, we don't expect enough sometimes. Some of us don't. I won't say all, but I know some women that and it's because of what they went through in their life, or the male figure that was in their life or wasn't in their life. Like, you know, I had a boyfriend or two who, you know, would never let me walk on the outside of the sidewalk. And even every time I did it, he would move me back, get over here. And I could never understand a small thing like that. And you're like, what's the big deal? And then you have others who don't really care. You know what I mean? You have others who's like, don't you move. Let me go get this door. Stay your butt right there and let me go get it. But you have others who, you know, you get out, they get out. It's the same thing. So it's just one of them things where but then there's women who don't like it. I'm gonna walk where I want to walk. You can't tell me what to do, you know? So it just is what we feel like is safe for us. And what we want a male to treat us. I feel like that's what we should be looking for. And if we don't find it, I feel like we need to move on. You know what I mean?
Oh, I completely do. Like, as I said, I'm from the South. So when you talk about certain things, I'm like, wait, are you from the South? Where are you from? But because that is, those are the types of things where, you know, even like, I tell this, I'm making fun of myself. But it's a guy that I used to date a long time ago. So I was used to guys opening doors for me.
Yeah.
Right. And this guy did not open this door for me. So because I'm so used to people opening doors for me, right? I'm like walking, I'm on my cell phone. I'm like, what you doing? So I'm on my cell phone. We get to the door and I don't know what I was doing, what I was thinking. I don't know. But I literally bumped into the door. I was like, wait, you did not open this door? I was like, where do they do that at, SK? Why is this door not open before I get to it? You're right here, boo. Do not let me. Why is my head hitting this door? Okay. And it was hilarious to me. I literally stood there and I was like, wait.
What just happened? Oh my God.
But it was just that it's like that should have given me all kinds of warnings at that time.
Yeah,
but you know, but
it's what you like, right? It's what you expect, right?
What I expect. And it's what I expect, it's what I like, and it's how I have been treated.
Yeah.
You know, it's you know, just that kind of a thing. And you know, maybe that's where my old school comes in, maybe that's where my southern upbringing comes in. But I love that. I love that attention. You know what I mean? So when I see that in books, like I can already know I'm gonna be with everybody else and be like, yo, me and Drake. Yeah. Because if that's who he is, I'm already loving him.
And he says that's how he was raised. He was raised to, you know, when a woman stands up at the table, he stands up. Not to say that men did that for me, but I know there are men that are like that. And so I want to make sure that I kind of put that in there, because not every guy does it, and it's not expected everywhere you go, but some people do, you know, they're raised like that. And so I wanted to put that out there.
Older, like an old school kind of thing, and I don't even know so many people these days would they even know that that's a thing that people used to do back in the day. You know, but it's just, I don't know. I like that because, like I say, when I read those alpha books, that's what I look for, is the guy who is a bit of a badass, but he's also the guy who is as devoted as can be to the people that he loves. So he might be a badass, but he is super devoted, and he's gonna break down walls, tear down mountains. He's gonna you know what I mean? To get the person that he loves and to protect them. That's what I love about those books. That's awesome. All right. So now this is a question that I have, because like I said, you have the indie and the hybrid. Looking at my little notes here. So that's the book that put you on the map, you think, the one that people fell in love with. So now, what are you going to give them next that's going to keep them loving SK?
Ooh, so there are some stories that I promised people.
Oh, you made promises, SK?
Yeah, I did. Those were the times where I didn't know any better. And so now I think I've learned my lesson, so I don't think that's going to happen anymore. But you know what? And I hit myself, or I kicked myself, but then again, I'm kind of thankful for it though, because for someone to come back to you, a reader who will ask you about a sub character, and that they liked that sub character, kind of tells you something about, you know, your writing, right? And I feel like that's a blessing and a curse, because they're expecting that second book for that other character, or that brother that, you know, or the two brothers or something. Like they're waiting for these books to come out, and you're just like, dang it, why not make them so great? You know, why couldn't they already have a girlfriend? And someone will still be upset, like, okay, so I know he's married, but what can you do with that? Like, can we see their story or something? Like, what's happening? So I feel like that's a positive. So I think I have those that I want to start, but I want to still keep up with that alpha male tendencies, but I want them to be a little bit more grimy. Mm-hmm. So I've written, like, my first book, Ruined, was Mason, and he was an ex-Navy SEAL, but he had some PTSD issues. And he had a dark past because of the things that, you know, he did in the military, you know, that type of situation. So it's been bothering him, but he was, you know, that person where I'm not going to go seek help. I'm just going to deal with it the way I deal with it, type of thing. But whenever he went back to his dark place, he didn't know how to crawl back out. Right. So, you know, it kind of upset a lot of people who read it, because they're like, how did he just drop her if he how how you going to try to marry somebody else, you know? And I had to redeem him all over again, in a way. And some people, it worked. Other people, they were like, I don't get it. I'm not buying it. But I felt like he was the start of kind of that grit, that griminess in him, and in the way he would make decisions. You might not like it, but for him, or to him, it may be the only thing that he could think of, or the only thing that made sense to him. It may not make sense to everyone else, but it made sense to him at the time. You know, so I want to kind of keep, you know, just the kind of grit, the kind of grime about them. You know, if they're on the wrong side of the law, how deep do they get in it? With the females, I kind of want to, you know, if they have a violent background, you know, maybe I dive in a little deeper to that violent background, because in the past I didn't. I just said, oh, well, she was abused, you know, by her boyfriend back in the day. No, this time maybe I might have her actually go through that abuse for a couple chapters before I actually, you know, get her out of it. Just, you know, and so I'm trying to debate whenever I think about the characters and the stories. I want them to be different than the other things that I wrote, but I still want to keep them interesting. And I still want people to, you know, get lost in the characters and get lost in the plot and come out at the end like, oh, okay, where's the next one? Because that's our goal, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's what we all want. And I mean,
Yeah.
and I love, you know, hearing that you're going to have like kind of like this whole new thing that you're going to tackle and
Yeah.
go after. And for me, because I do, I will write across genres. So I've done some paranormal,
Mhm.
and, you know, of course, like I said, I will do some, what I would think of as more traditional romance along with the women's fiction. But I love writing across the genres because it makes me feel like I'm keeping fresh ideas.
Ideas, yeah.
Where I don't get bored with my storytelling, and then hopefully people don't become bored with the stories that I produce. That idea of writing across genres, it helps produce new stuff for me. So I think that's going to be exciting.
I think it does too, because it, like you said, it allows you or gives you other ideas to kind of mess with, and then it also broadens your horizons on what you want to write about, what you want to talk about, and you're introducing, you know, a different side of you to your readers. Mm-hmm. You know, and so I enjoy it as well. That's why I started doing a paranormal book. Yeah. You know, because my daughter said you can do it, and Jessica was like, I think you can do it, and I was like, ah. But I used her, my daughter, as like, you know, any questions I had, because she was heavily into, you know, that type of paranormal, you know, vampires and werewolves and stuff. So I just, if I had a question, I said, hey, what is the difference between an alpha male and a beta male? You know, and she broke it down, and I was like, oh, okay, so this doesn't mean what I think it means. It means something else. And she's like, yes. So it was enlightening from her perspective, you know, being 18 or being 17 and kind of giving me that life or what to expect if I was going to go into that genre. So she was a big help with that. So I feel like that's just something that, you know, makes sense for an author, just to kind of, you know, spread your wings a little bit. You know, it's also, though, it's also scary, because, you know, we got some readers that'll be like, what are you doing?
Yeah. They will not accept that.
Yeah.
Which is the reason why so many authors will write up under a pseudonym, because they know readers might not be open to that new thing that they want to explore. So readers, be advised, some of your favorite authors might be writing under names you don't even know.
You don't even know. Yeah.
They're scared of you.
I feel like they just want to make sure. I mean, some people just aren't ready, right? Or they're expecting you to do a certain thing or to write a certain way. And if you deviate from that, they're going to like, SK must be going through something with this book. We're going to let her slide with this. She better not come out with another one.
Yeah, because your people are waiting in the wings. So they're really going to be like,
they're holding on, though. I will give them that. I mean, I touched base with them because I asked them a question about fluff. Mm-hmm. You know, because I feel like it's a thin line, you know, as an author, as a creator, you know, we may want to tell a different story or tell their story with different situations involved. Like, you know, they may be at a cookout, or they may be just in bed, just talking, or they may be taking a walk, and you give them those different scenes because you want to create and develop their story, and you want to share their love. Yep. But then someone else may think, oh, girl, you didn't need to have those 5 chapters. You can just cut that down to 3 and you could have been good. So it's a thin line when it comes to that fluff, and what a reader would consider a fluff and what you would consider as important in a story, you know? Yeah. So I asked them that question, but a lot of them really pretty much came back and said, I love what you're doing. Don't stop. I was like, okay.
You know, and that's what I think is important.
It's a vindication, right?
Yeah. You know, that, you know, you've given them enough to where they love it and they like reading every part of it, you know? It's like, because, you know, like you and I were sharing before, I have had some people where I will scan a book. I will scan a book on you. Real
Yep.
Why is all this extra in here?
I'm like, get back to the characters, please.
I read this book for him and her, not him, her.
Oh yeah, and
So,
yep,
yeah.
I've done that multiple times, and I have this series that I'm gonna have to share with you offline too. It's a sci-fi, but they are taking like zombies, for instance, but they're making it scientific on how it happened. Like these people turned into zombies, but it was because of them being injected with a serum or something. You know what I mean? So they said they created a project. Matter of fact, what they did was they took the Liberty Bell from Philly. They were creating a new one because it was, the old one was broke or something. So they were creating a new one, and they had darts with the pathogen inside them. And so when the bomb went off, the darts came out and injected all these different people. And these people, of course, they would turn into zombies and they would kill other people. Yeah. And it was like a mass hysteria because you had to contain the room. So even though it was about zombies, they made it where you can say, okay, I can see that happening.
Yeah.
Not like that's so unrealistic, but no, they were really like, you could really sit there and make it see, make like it happen. And I love the male character. It was action, but it was also kind of, some of the stuff throughout the series was a little far-fetched, but I was just like, okay, there's aliens. Okay, we're not alone in the world. All right. Like, I accepted a lot that happened in this series.
Zombies and
hey, one was zombies, one was aliens, one was like they were creating man all over again. Like people were creating, like, gave him superhuman strength. I mean, it was was so far in the spectrum with sci-fi, but I loved the character.
Yeah.
And I wanted to see every situation. It may be a little far-fetched, but they made it to where you go, I can see that happen. you just accepted it. It was no question. It was, you know what I mean? That's how well this author did it.
I can do that. I mean, my thing, like I said, like we were talking, I love all genres, you know? And I like it when people make me, they pull me into something. They're just like, you know what, Angela, girl, you're going to enjoy this. Just to float on this cloud with me, because that's what that's what I want to be able to do is whatever crazy work I create, I want to be able to drag that reader along with me where they're like, well, what?
Yes.
Right. Wait, hey, okay, I'm gonna give you that. I mean, so I can't deny another author if they do it with me, because that's what I want to do with everybody who picks up one of my books. I love that. Right? You want to share that one with me so I can pick it up.
I will.
All right. So that all the people who are patiently waiting, do you have anything that's going to release soon, or is everything still in production? Should they be waiting? Should they have their finger, should they be like this on Kindle? What should they be doing? They ready? What should they be doing?
No, they shouldn't be like that yet. There's still works in progress. Like I said, I told you the one that I'm working on. That sucker is like close to, it's over 300 pages. I mean, maybe almost 4. So that's gonna, and I'm not even done with the plot yet. So I know that's gonna be ridiculous.
Ooh,
and then I started another one, but I feel like these characters were screaming at me a little bit more. And I know a lot of readers hear us say, that characters speak to you. It's seriously, if one is speaking louder than the other, you really cannot concentrate and focus, because you're not going to give your all to these characters because you keep thinking about these other ones. You keep thinking about this situation. I'll go to sleep and I'll wake up at 3:00 in the morning and I'm trying to go back to sleep and my mind will go back to the book, and then these thoughts and ideas pop up and you're like, oh, that's a good one. Oh, I can't wait in the morning. Or I might even grab my cell phone and got word on it and bring it up and start typing until I'm sleepy. That's how it is. So as much as I want to work on characters B and C, I can't get D&E out of my head yet. It's like I can't do it until I'm at a point where I'm like, okay, I'm here at this point. I think about other stuff. I can quiet them down, but these ones are like, okay, I need you to write a little bit more about me, and then I'll go back over here. My dad talks about me all the time. He's like, I can't understand how you can do it. I said, it's tough.
Yeah. I cannot do
it. You gotta just drop it and just concentrate on focus on one and not the other, because one gets louder than the other. And then sometimes I I haven't even started a character and I'm thinking about something that I haven't done yet.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, dang. So then I got to start that one just to get to a point where I can get my thoughts on paper. And then I said, okay, I'll visit you later, but let me just get it down. You know what I mean? It's just crazy. It makes us feel crazy, but I guess that's what the mindset of artist, I guess.
I think so. You know, I mean, I'm not that split yet. I get to the point where what I end up doing is, you know, I'll be working on one piece, like the piece that you have, you know, but, you know, I literally have a thing on my phone that says like book notes. And so I put like little, like, oh, okay, yeah. And then then I go back to focusing on what I'm focusing on.
Yeah.
But then once I finished it and like it's in the hands of my friends, then I go back to the other one and I start trying to, and that's only because it's like when I'm in that rabbit hole and I'm writing, and it's like you say, if something jumps up, because it's literally like you could be writing about this character and you're like, that could be a whole nother something. And then I just, and I'm like, I'm not gonna touch that right now because I want to put my energy here. And so I'm not there yet. You know, I don't, you know, like I put those ideas down and then I go back to the other one because I have so many stories when I've tried to do that are on my computer where I have like 2 or 3 chapters of this, chapter of that, paragraph of this, because those ideas hit. And then I'm like, I got to finish this before I can do that. And then I end up having, it's like, what am I going to do about that? It's just like stuff. And so yeah, I'm bad with that. I'm so bad with that. So
I do that all the time. Yeah. But then you have the idea down. And so you can go back once you're done, like you said, with the one project that you're working on. Now you've done that to completion, to where you're satisfied. You can send it off to the editor and you can start formulating your plan for one of the stories that you thought of as you were writing your other project. You know what I mean? And so that's what I have at the moment. Some, they're being developed in my head, but then I have others that have actually started a chapter, 2 chapters, 3 chapters that I still periodically go back and reread. Yeah. Just to see if it sparks something. You know what I mean? Because it sparked something at the time, but then you had other things, I had other things going on. So I'm like, okay, am I ready now? Are you guys ready to talk to me? Yeah. No? Okay, let's move on.
I really do, because I have one story that I swear I keep looking at it and I'm like, I see you, boo. But you're not there yet. It's like, it's not all the way. It's just like a little piece here, a little bit. I'm like, what
it's
am
not
I
enough.
doing? You know?
It's close.
Right? It's just not quite. And it's like, I'm like, like literally, I'm like, I so want to write this, but I'm like, it's not congealed yet. The whole story isn't there yet. So I just keep adding little bits and pieces. And honestly, I'm usually a pretty linear writer, but that's one story that I've been working on now, honestly, for a few years, and it's not linear. It's not linear at all. And I think that's probably like, I'm like, I've just got to sit down and piece it all together, because I really want that. I really want it out, and I just haven't done it yet. I've got to get it right.
Yeah.
All right. So you gave a little hint to your reader group. So let's give people some specifics. Tell us about all the social media so people can stalk you online, find out when the new books are coming out, and just generally get to know you, be a part of your tribe.
So I'm on Facebook. I have a group called Alpha Addicts, SK Leslie Alpha Addicts. So that's typically where I'm usually, where I pop in. I haven't been doing it in a while because I've been writing, but that's usually where you can find me there. My email is skleslie, SKLESSLY05 @gmail.com. I do have a website too, same name, skleslie05.com. Those are, and usually with the website, I try to update it with most recent stories that I have, with links to Amazon, and also with a link for excerpts. So if you're kind of like, oh, I wonder what this is, you read the read the excerpt, but you want, or the synopsis, but you want more, you know, because it gives you just a little bit here and there, you want more, then I have a link as well for you to actually read a chapter. You know, I'll post a chapter in there, you know, just to kind of give you a teaser or a taste of the character and the flow of the book to see if you're interested in that. So a lot of times when I tell people, you know, about me or writing or whatever, I direct them to the website so they can kind of, you know, shop around themselves and click on that buy button, and it takes you directly to Amazon. So you don't have to research or nothing like that to get the book on your Kindle if you wanted to. I am on Instagram. I don't understand Instagram though. I don't know if I'm showing my age, but I go on there and I'm looking at pictures and stuff. And I'm just like, okay.
Literally one of my favorite things. Like, I used to love Twitter, and but now I'm all about an IG girl. I'm like on IG, like, what? IGTV? What? Let me do all of this. Let me do all the things on IG, you know.
Yeah.
So we'll have to sit down and I'll have to show you.
Yeah.
I love IG. But
yeah. So I'm hoping to get these books, because I really want to knock out my goal is to knock out 3 books by the end of this year. That's my goal. But mind you, it's July.
I'm about to say it's July.
It's July. But I'm still gonna hold fast. You know, my girlfriend tells me you should just do 2 books, but I was like, no, I'm gonna do 3. So we'll see how that works out. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm trying to do high goals, but again, I just wish that this
high goals. You do it.
I just wish this COVID stuff would just get a handle on things. So it's kind of messing with my mojo a little bit, but I mean, that's my goal that I'm trying to accomplish. So, you know, with that being said, I'm normally just kind of doing that because, I mean, let's face it, Facebook is a distraction. I'll go on one, I click a video, next thing I know, I was on it for an hour watching a whole bunch of videos. And I was like, dang it.
It is such a time. On social media, I swear, if you let yourself, you can be forever. It's like, it's so funny because, you know, my phone will tell me, oh, your screen time this week or whatever. I'm like, when it says that it's down, I'm like, yeah, I did not spend my whole life hanging around on social media this week. You know, I'm like, every time it says that my screen time was down, I'm like, yes, Angela, you are doing other things now, you know, because it's such a time thing, especially.
It is. I mean, not to say that I don't miss it. I mean, I don't want to do it because I do, you know, I do it anyway, but it's just sometimes I'm like, okay, I get so wrapped up in it and I'm like, okay, I need to focus on this characters. I need to sit down and actually, because, you know, they say what you're supposed to write, you know, write every day, you know, just to kind of keep everything flowing and stuff. So when you don't want to, it's like, I got to, let me, you know, so I'll get this out, my laptop, and I'm looking at my stuff and I'm reading. It's like, okay, I start like this. And all of a sudden I hear a ding on my phone. I grab it. Next thing you know, I'm like this, you know, and next I'm like, it's an hour. Oh, dang. So I try not to touch my phone while I'm right here, you know, working on a laptop, because that is such a daggone distraction. It is unreal.
Yeah, I've actually put I've warned some of my friends that I do writing sprints with. I'm like, we're gonna put some writing sprints on YouTube, people, so we can encourage all of us to get together and write. Because if it wasn't for writing sprints, you know, over the last couple of months, I probably would not have gotten through with the book that you have right now, because it was just because there's been so much, you know, like I said, COVID-19 and all this stuff, so distracting, and you're so focused on what's happening in the world that it's hard to focus on writing. And honestly, if it wasn't for them, you know, I don't know what, you know, I would have just been sitting here like, yeah, I guess I'm gonna spend 24 hours a day on social media. I don't know, you know, just you're looking for something to distract you. And it's not like social media is the best thing right now either, but you're looking for that distraction. So I completely understand. Completely. So we can find you on Facebook. We can find you. Might not find you too fast on IG, but we can look on there.
I will see it at least. Yes. And then mainly on my website, that's pretty much where you'll find me. But, you know, if you look at it right now, I think it's it's not secret, so it's private. So I think you can still request access to SK Leslie Alpha Addicts. But that's the group that I have on Facebook, and I'm usually in there, or that's where I post, any books, or, if I get to a point in my story that I'm like, hey, I want to share, that's where I'll share, kind of a quick excerpt or something, just kind of give you a little taste of what I was doing, so you won't call me a slacker as much. To say, see, I am actually doing something, guys. Yeah, I'm doing it.
I can only imagine. I gotta make sure that I'm in SK Leslie.
Yeah, you have to, because I tell people, I'm like, because for a while it was secret, but I think we opened it up to private to let some people, kind of join or whatever, because, in other groups, there was so many issues with, pictures of guys with the shirts, and then they, people get offended because they see, chest. And they're like, no, they call Facebook or something on people. So it's like a secret for a while. So we just open it up, I think, to private. So we can be there.
Yeah, getting blocked or banned or locked out in Facebook jail. All right. So I want to say, madame, my sis out there helping a sister hold it down. Thank you. I appreciate it so much. Like I said, when I started this, I made my list of people that I wanted to make sure that I reached out to and, an interview, because you guys have been a part of my journey along this way and have helped me. And just because you guys have been, everybody that I've interviewed has been, so embracing and welcoming, that I definitely wanted to make sure that I got interviews with all of my people, so people could know these are the women in my tribe. And so go check them out, read their books, join her Facebook group, find her, her website. Wait until she sets up. Do you have that BookBub page set up yet? Wait until she sets up that BookBub. See, look, she still doesn't have it set up. Look at that. That is
I gotta look it up. I think I did at the time we had a conversation.
We're gonna all check that. Everybody watching this, go check her BookBub and call her out if she didn't do it. But it has been my pleasure, madam. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for thinking of me and inviting me on here. I really had a great time just talking with you and fellowshipping, and we got to do it often since I missed you in May, our trip. So hopefully I'll see you next year.
Yeah, hopefully we'll all get to see
we can hang out.
That's been one of the most awesome things about doing this.
Oh, I love it.
So many people I have missed because the events have all been canceled, that, this has given me a reason to call all of you and see all your beautiful faces.
That's when, whenever I first went there, I was nervous, but oh my goodness, just, IRAE just opened up a lot with readers, and just being able to just sit down and just have conversations. We've had so many conversations with readers and authors. It's been enlightening. It's been inspiring. You know what I mean? Just getting their perspective on things, and they're comfortable with talking to us. And you know what I mean? We just sit there in fellowship, and we start getting a family and a bond. And so I love my sisters. I can't wait to go every year. I tell my husband I'm going every year. And that's guaranteed. I'm like, I'm going to Florida every year, so it's happening.
It's totally like a family reunion. And
I love it.
And so we didn't get to do that this year, but I still get to see all you guys via Zoom.
Yes. And let me know when you have these writing sprints, so y'all can encourage me too, dagnabbit.
Look, I'm telling you, we're going to do those suckers live. I'm trying to get people to join me, and we do it across YouTube. So.
Oh yeah, that'd be awesome.
In? All right, so you guys heard it. She's in. It's gonna be SK gonna join me. It's gonna be a bunch of us. So y'all gonna have to keep your eye out for when we have it set up. It's gonna be on.
Yes.
We're gonna do it as a live stream on YouTube.
That'd be awesome.
So we're gonna set it up. All right, everybody out there in podcast land, YouTube world, thank you all for joining us.
Thank you.
See you soon.
Love you guys. Love you, Ange.
Love you, darling. Bye.
Bye.